societies. There's no secret ninja. You can be, if you want like some capabilities, you can be ex-military. I've had some of that. I've had an Irish cop. I've had a basketball player. I've had, let me see here, a cook, a rich boy. Let me see, a clerk from a mailroom, a boy genius. I mean, you can get away with it. I'm trying to think of some of the characters we have. A guy who's old and like on vacation or just, in retirement, whatever the reason is, but you are going from point A to point B. Now, here's the kicker. Here's what makes this an isekai fantasy game. Everybody has a secret wish or desire or dream or something that they want that nobody has to know about. You may not even realize it yourself. And you can phrase it to like, tell me what you want. This secret desire is what triggers or what will be the catalyst or what I will base your powers on. Because you don't really know what you're going to get. We can play it two ways. You could really ask me, I really want this, or I can be like, you want to be surprised. And by that, eventually you're going to hand in your character sheets and I give you a new one. And you're like, hey, I got all these powers. And you can play discovering that as you go. And then we'll milestone system it. At a certain point, I'm just going to give you 25 points and up the dice cap by 2, and you'll power up, and you'll power up, and you'll power up. I play testing has shown that to work really well. If this was Champions, maybe I would change the character sheet every session. But Champions is way more granular and way more fiddly than P&P, and I found that the power-up technique, you milestone, you reach something, I hand out new character sheets, there you go. So you're going to go from 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 dice. So you'll be on par with your average superhero at a certain point. And if you're like, well, what do you mean by a secret desire? Well, one guy was like, I know exactly where you're going with this. My guy is ex-Air Force. He now is an airline pilot. He's deadheading on this flight to Bermuda because he can, they have a spare seat and he's with the airline and he's just going to use that seat to go somewhere. And in his dreams, he flies. And I was like, oh, well, that's quite obvious what you want to do. And another guy was like, I wish the world was like my sketchbook. I wish I could just erase and start over. And I was like, oh, okay, you get to have time manipulation where you can stop time and restart it to undo all the mistakes that you make. Let me see. Somebody else was totally obsessed with forging. And they said, oh, yeah, metal speaks to me. So they gained the ability to be Magneto and just manipulate metal in all shapes and forms. One guy was a fan of Larry Niven's Gill the Arm, and he lost an arm in Afghanistan, and he had a prosthetic, and he got his arm back, and he has a telekinetic third arm as well. Someone else was basically dying of cancer and had lost their legs and wished they could run again, and by the time the game ended, they could run like the Flash. And so, I will also note that transformations are not out of the question. Somebody, you can somebody regrew their leg, somebody regrew their arm, somebody transformed into a completely different form. You will meet people who no longer look at all like what they started out as. And you too can do that. One of the things that I note, because I was conscious of this, is that people could change age, they could change gender, they could match their internal gender identity, they could grow younger, they could grow slightly older, taller, whatever they want, because there's a level of, part of this is the idea of wish fulfillment. And part of the theme is, what do you do when you get what you want? You now have all this ability. How do you handle it? And do you maintain your sanity? Which is not saying you guys should go crazy, but you're going to run into people where you're like, I think power has really driven them a bit over the edge. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, once again, please talk to me. Come to me, email or whatever, or make notes. Damn it. See, I read this thing that smart people swear, and so I feel better about how smart I am. Um,
Dude,
okay. Well, okay. Um, we're gonna do it live. We're gonna do it live. We'll fix it in post. Okay. Um, so I'm not going to go in the nitty gritty about character creation, as in where you're going to go from here. We'll worry about that as we go. Um, the other thing I will explain, though, which will hopefully will make sense to everybody except for the guys who never has actually played, is if you look in Prowlers and Paragons in the PDF in the Ultimate Edition, and this is of course me dragging time out as I try to find the dang page number. On page 40, there is something called speciality. Because you guys are start out so low, everybody gets a non-combat speciality. You can either pick one or create one. This lets you kind of define who your character is at the start. Um, for those who like are not really aware about it, it can be things like student, scientist, techie, detective, executive, explorer, face. You get a bonus to two different talents, and you can explode sixes, which means you can do pretty super capable stunts, uh, which lets you go above and beyond because you are, even those normals, you're still the heroes. So that's something to consider. This also means that some of you may have stacks of resolve because you won't have any stat up around six, which will be great because you can use that to survive when you're still kind of fragile. Um, I will note no one has ever died. People have come really close. No one has ever been killed off. And those who have gotten close, usually you can spend resolve to bounce back from death. This is a gritty game. So uh, things like how gear is handled, how melee or shooting into melee is handled, how bleeding and things. Yeah, this is not a four-color super game. It is not a superhero game. It is a people with powers game. One way to think about it, if you've ever read any Celtic myth, where Kuklian is running around doing things like running across the grass or juggling apples by blowing on them or throwing a spear through 10 guys or something. This is the kind of thing you're dealing with. You're going to be in a world where it's not guys in costumes, but it's more like think culture heroes doing culture heroes over the top. Hercules, Kuklian, that archer that sank a ship with a single arrow in Japan really happened. That kind of a thing. That's what we're talking about. So that's sort of super fantasy. If you're like me and you've watched a million Chinese wuxi movies, that kind of stuff.
so what's the gear cap? 40?
All right, so I'm going to slap you because you asked the troublesome question.
Oh, yeah.
There is no gear cap.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
I guess our stats are low enough. It wouldn't make much of a difference.
Well, no, it's a little bit more than that. I dealt with Len on this. Don't worry about gear right now.
Okay.
I will basically don't worry about gear that you get and everything. It won't really affect anything. And by the time it does, I'll explain how it works. But basically, for those who have played PMP and understand the idea of gear, gear simply adds to what you have. So if you have eight toughness, and I give you some 2-die armor gear, you now have 10. And you're like, but no, don't worry about what the rules say about gear. This is a zero. There's a no limit to your gear. It will top out, but it tops out at a point that we don't have to worry about it for a long time. And we actually wrote some special rules because we went back and forth. And the reason is because people you meet believe their swords can do the things or weapons or spears, and so their gear is on. People with gear are on power with people with powers, and vice versa. What that means is, by the way, if you've ever watched the first Highlander movie where they're having a sword duel and they're chopping the castle wall apart, you're like, I want to do that. Yeah, you can do that. Your sword won't break unless I whip out a misfortune. Any other questions? Does everybody sound interested?
Very much so. So, just to recap, we're a bunch of strangers on a plane to Bermuda, and we are a and we are to choose make our stats. And I'm assuming it's like a 1-to-1, right? So we get 50 points. We can either put like and we need to at least have 1 point in every stat and or talent, and
Correct.
we can buy one of these packages for discounted points or whatnot, and then we get a
Right.
combat or a non-combat specialty rather,
And those are free.
and then those are free. And
Right.
then
to give you an idea, to be a civilian, which gives you 2 dice and all your capabilities, all your abilities, which are your 6 core stats, and all your talents, it's 35 points. That leaves you 15 points left over to, do whatever you want. And like I said, powers that make sense for a person such as martial arts, expertise, maybe even luck if you want, although luck can be kind of expensive, languages and all that. And even perks. I may come back to you and say those don't cost anything. Like, I want to be wealthy. I'm like, you can have that for free because trust me, where you're going, wealth doesn't matter. So in fact, we have a character who technically has wealth, didn't have to pay for it because he can't access any of that where he is now.
Makes sense.
Just flavor at that point.
Yeah.
And flavor is free, right? Yeah. All right.
Also, I will note that in case you're wondering what the meta plot is actually like many of these, it's a little bit like Gilligan's Island. Wow, I just dated myself. It's where are we? How do we get out of here? Why are we being chased? Can we find allies? What do we do about these enemies? And why do things happen to us? Well, things happen to you because you're the player characters. But you'll be involved in all sorts of plots and adventures. Meet people that may be friends, meet people that might be enemies. Discover you have superhuman powers, and get into all sorts of situations because of that. There is an endpoint if this runs as it has. All questions will be answered, even if we just answer them in the after party, and there will be a resolution. This is not an eternal game.
Okay. Have we thought about using a VTT at all, like a Roll20 or something along those lines, or are we just raw dogging it?
This is all theater of the mind.
Like that.
You can run PMP. You can run PMP on a map. You can translate dice of movement to square, like how many feet a square is. I have found that nobody really wants a map. I may upload maps that I've drawn up and say this is what it looks like. But I tend to, it has made me much more flexible. My Monday night game, actually, I complimented my players because I was like really off the cuff coming up with stuff because I wasn't, I had an idea in my head and I'm slowly drawing things up, literally like some pictures. I can't share anything because then it would spoil stuff. But I have some really rough drawings of maps. I have some rough drawing. I think actually Ava has a slight edge because I think she's seen some of this stuff for the marketing.
Some of it.
Some of
it's whether I retained the information that's the question.
Well, it's also some of it out of context doesn't make a single lick of sense. Now, let me actually cover, while you guys are like maybe thinking of character ideas, let me cover a few important points. First of all, I talked about attendance. If there's 4 of us, it's iffy. If there's 3 of us, I'm not going to run. I roll my dice here. You guys figure it out. If you're like, is there a dice roller? Yeah, I think either Mobius or the PMP Omniverse Discord has a dice roller, which actually rolls the dice for you. There's a gentleman who's in my one PMP game who I think programmed the dice roller, because this is not my server, this is REM, Alternis's. If you talk to Floyd Grubb, maybe he can tell you, oh, yeah, I can make one for you. And then you just type a code in, which is like exclamation point D6 or something, and it'll roll your dice and give you successes. If not, if everybody rolls manually, I don't care. Just don't be like Orion and Critical Role and always seem to roll 10 or 12 successes, even on 4 dice, because you ever wonder why I got kicked out? That was one of several reasons.
Makes sense.
The other thing is I have serious hearing loss. So if people start talking all at once, I won't hear a thing. I do try to I actually will say, if you really want to talk, raise your hand or something. I know it sounds childish, but we only have so much screen space. What I will regularly do, though, is pause and go around. Well, I'll say clockwise. So in my case, I might say Hava, Isabitz, Penal, Grim, Knack. Sorry, I wanted to say Grimjack, but Limey Dragon, Carlos. And I might say, tell me what you're doing, and then I'll come back to you. And this is why I have a nice big notebook so I can write it all down. I may also say, give me a scene. I am more than happy to let you grab the reins and tell me, what you're doing and so on. If people are like a little leery to do that at first, I totally understand. But I know with my Friday night group, I'm going to be like, dude, we've been playing for 46 sessions. You tell me what you see in the city, and I may grab that and modify it and run with it. If you come up with something really cool, I may be like, can I keep that? Put this in the setting. And most everybody's been like, yeah, please. Which, let me bring into another point. Like any Lost Worlds, Portal Fantasy, Isekai game, player characters may be interested or find romantic entanglements. That's fine. I've had players decide their characters were interested in NPCs I've created. Other ones have been like, I would like to find a companion. And I say, look, you create it. In my first online game, one of my players was admitted that he was trying to come to grips with his realization of his bisexuality. So he had his character develop a love affair with his character, who was Ollie, developed a love affair with a male character who continued with him as a companion through the rest of the game. And that companion, if you develop one, will probably power up to a smaller extent with you so that they're relevant when you're at 12 dice and they're not still stuck at 6. That's all up to you. If you're like, I'm not interested in that sort of interaction, that's fine. If you want to play the field, that's fine. If romantic encounters occur, they're assumed. We don't need to write them out. We don't need to, go into any detail. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think here. We figure that's how it is. We're all adults, and this is an adult game. Sex is not central to the game, though. But in the oh my God, everything is wonderful, and I'm young, and I've lost 40 pounds, and everybody is so much, Sure, that's part of the whole. Like, there's something wrong with this place. Everything is too good. There is also violence, and bad people do bad things. I don't know if we need to have can we not have this show up? If there's something you feel strongly about, let me know. And I may have to alter some plot things. I know, like, for example, harm the children. I can't think of anything where that happens other than maybe, if your mind runs away with you and you're like, that's awful. But on camera, harm the children, off camera, harm the children. This is not Curse of Strahd in depth. It's Curse of Strahd in a game I run over and over and over again. People being in prison, people being abused. Yeah, because that's how we really know the bad guys are bad guys. I don't really go heavy into gore or such. It's often way more effective to ask you guys what bad thing happened, because players can be worse. Or if I just allude to it, your own imagination will run away with you, and you can creep yourself out way more than I can. On the flip side, I do try to be descriptive. One of the things that I am envious of Matt Mercer is the way he just dives into how something looks and feels and smells. I try to do the same. So I try to paint a picture with words. And so I want everybody to I want to be immersive. So you understand this is a completely different place. And I want you to understand how different it is. And I want, that sort of thing. Occasionally I will show art because this is Twitch. What I probably will do is dump it into a folder and say, go look at it there. Because I tend to scour the interwebs and oh, that looks like what I want. That looks like what I want. That looks like what I want. So of course if I was a multimillionaire, I'd have a lot more commissioned art that was exactly what I want. But instead I use stuff that I find elsewhere. So some of the stuff I draw, I do a little drawing. But I've got so much going on and I don't quite draw as like I used to. So now that my rambling is done, any more questions?
Is there anything you don't want to see as a character?
I would like character. Good question. I would like characters. I don't care if characters are seeking a redemption arc. I don't care if characters have done bad things, but I would like characters that are willing to work with others. We actually asked a guy to leave because he was being he was playing his character, which was very aggressive and kind of grim. And I think he was expecting a different game. And I was like, look, you've got 4 guys with this mindset and you were over here and I'm not changing the game for you. And the majority rules. So, one of the ways to look at it was actually a great line I heard, which is, I think it's great that your character has no interest in the rebellion against the Galactic Empire. It's wonderful. Can you show me the one that does for this game? So the idea
Don't be that guy.
Right.
Whatever that guy is to you, don't be it.
Hiss, punch him in the face. I'm a loner. I'm edgy. Nobody understands me. I don't care if you wear a black trench coat. I don't care if you got a neck beard. I don't care if you're, love katanas. Be willing to be part of a group and not, you can argue. I think in character argument, and I mean that character conflict can drive a plot. I don't know about out of game, but I know in game, in the first online game, 2 characters snapped at each other, and the one guy was like, my character's 17. I was stupid at 17. And the other guy's, I'm character's like 18. Yeah, I'm not taking that from this one. And so but then after a while, they went from this to, they meshed as a team. This is not saying
how you find your best friends.
This is not to say you have to be prickly. This is, you can be whatever you want, but have a view that eventually understand that the meta plot is you are going to join these other survivors and you all have to band together, even if you argue a bit, but you're going to have to band together because if you just fight with each other, it's no fun for me. It's no fun for other players. And understand that this will start as you against the world in and that's a broad stroke way to describe it. And then eventually will evolve into, we are in this world, we're part of it, we're trying to make our way, we're trying to survive, we have goals we're trying to accomplish. But, that kind of a thing. And remember, for those who have never seen it, which is one guy, flaws do define sort of, what your character is like. And one thing I will note, this goes back into character creation, 2 things. One, if you can have up to 3 flaws. If you don't have up to 3 flaws immediately, that's fine. I will be giving you some flaws, and you may eventually get other ones. The other thing is, I'm not happy with my character. Fine. You have roughly about 3 sessions, which should be about 12 hours of play, to hammer things out. If you're really not happy, we can talk about it. Also, if later on you're like, I really want to change this thing, we can have a radiation accent and have your character, redo. I will tell you that it always takes, no matter how well I write up a character, it always takes me a little bit of time to get into the character. And sometimes I'm like, I like this idea better. So I totally respect that in players. If anybody decides to drop, that's fine. If Ava's like, oh my God, people are like, how is there any more room? I can always introduce a new player. One of the nice things about PMP is I go, well, you're a 50-point per character. And guys are going to be like, but we're 10 dice. I'm like, yeah, they're now at your dice cap. So they get 12 resolve. So they may be fragile, but they can help everybody with resolve. So they're actually really valuable. And then I'll just bounce them up to your power level pretty quickly. So that's how I resolve. That was a good joke. And I will admit that with my first game online, I had a couple people drop in and out, like 2, and then I've had a really rough time with my other online games. But it happens. People get bored. People don't want to play this. People have something else happen. COVID ends, and they can go, I can play face to face. I'm going to run away now. Thanks. Or people just like, I can't, something real life comes up. I'm not also saying that this will be 60 sessions or 50 sessions. If you guys don't explore every little thing you hear, if you don't go into long 20-minute inter-character dialogues, then this game may be much shorter. I will say, though, that I will say, like, yeah, I don't see this being any less than 24 to 36 optimal. But if it ends up running much longer, I'm willing to run this as long as everybody's willing to play and host.
Sounds good to me.
Also, I just want to say, I didn't think about it until, like, you mentioned neckbeard and black trench coat, but part of me is almost wishing I could, because I've already decided character. I'm set on that, but like part of me just wants to play the typical neckbeard basement dweller who loves the fact that he gets isekai'd.
You want to be me right now, because that would be me. Yeah. Like, here, let me unblur.
The character that I have.
When you said loves katanas, literally my whole wall is just lightsabers and katanas right here.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like the Cheeto finger dusted, the smelly neckbeards.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, I have 2 katana. I have 1 wakizashi. I have 1 Han Dynasty sword. I have an English broadsword, a German longsword. Well, I used to do medieval reenactment too. Now, actually, I'm going to do one thing because this is driving me crazy. Ava, is that your name? Okay, is it Ava Rogers your name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going with that.
That's a hard question to answer. It's what I go by online.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, I don't know. Yeah. What actually, I'm going to scratch that. I'm not going to even ask for anybody's names. What I am going to say, though, is that it will be hugely helpful if once we establish, get everything together, that when we're streaming, like I have 1 underscore GM of the GM of the well. If everybody could put their name in so that way when I look up, I can call on you by your character name. That will help me and be like, I need to, it just works for me like that.
We'll need to do that at the beginning during tech, otherwise it'll screw up camera arrangement on screen for when we stream these.
Okay.
That's why you have 1 in front of your name. That way, if anybody drops, you're still in the GM spot on the overlay.
Oh, that's why I have 1.
That's why I think Tom probably added it.
Okay. So one thing I just noticed, I cannot copy a PDF to the directory. I presume I need to ping you and ask for permission to
Did I not make you editor? Huh? Oh, I put it on my personal one because I honestly didn't know where the hell to put it in the... Oh, I did. Okay, try now. It automatically selected viewer instead of editor. So now you should be able to upload and anything.
Yes, I had to refresh. All right, so at the root, what I'm going to do soon, not maybe right now, you're going to see a series of directories show up. At the root is going to be something. It's going to be the PDF that says Browse and Paragon's Ultimate Edition. This is for reference for all of you. What the other thing I'm going to do? Okay, have to keep refreshing. The other thing I'm going to do, I need to look at my other directories, but I'll put in a series of folders. It'll say things like images, maps, GM only, which is basically please don't go in there, although there may not be anything in there. There'll be one that says blue books, and maybe something I write goes in there. There'll be something that says old character sheets and current character sheets. And then in the current, we'll have a template that I will upload that you don't have to use. I may re-clean your, if you like, oh my God, it's a mess, I may copy to a fresh one. It's a little color coded, so it's a little bit easier on the eye. And also because it's a Google Doc drive, you can comment and ask questions and tag me. I'm going to put my email address into the chat. Please feel free to ping me with questions or ideas or whatever. Also, if you find the other thing is if you find art like of your character and like, oh, this is what I look like. Another thing to consider is try using Hero Forge. It's free. They have a crap load of stuff these days. You can make a kind of modern character, and then as you get more and more period gear, you can change it around. Say this is what I look like now. And the nice thing, of course, is that with Hero Forge, you can have like a chainmail shirt and blue jeans and sneakers and a sword and a cell phone, and it all just fits together. You can color it too. If you've never used it, it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's a fantastic.
I gotta go get my door. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How many people have taken Fourth Wall? I'm very curious.
How many people are taking Fourth Wall?
How many people have done that in the past? The one that's like, oh, I'm part of a comic book. In this case, I'm part of a video game.
Nobody has ever taken Fourth Wall. There is an NPC that I think kind of has has a limited version of Fourth Wall, but no one has ever taken or asked to have the Fourth Wall perk. I don't know how that would play out.
I feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity, though.
I got to think. I mean, I'm not. I don't know if anybody's ever wanted to play like Deadpool or the Joker or Hulk.
Well, like the Fourth Wall could literally be because there's plenty. I've watched a lot of anime. There's a lot of anime where some guy's like, I'm part of a video game world. Here's how the video game logic works. And then it turns out what they think is right is not actually right. Sometimes what they think is right is actually right. It could be either extremely powerful or extremely pointless, depending on how you mean to interpret the world.
Actually, I would argue then don't take Fourth Wall, because Fourth Wall means you're in a game. I would argue that you take expertise, whatever, like video game or isekai anime or something, and you can say, oh man, I read this. This is like Overlord. This is like El Hazard. This is going to happen, because you could also get a quirk like that. Fourth Wall says that whenever you like break the wall and get everybody like all of us laughing, you get a resolve. But what you're describing, where you're like saying this is how it is because this is how it works, and when it doesn't, that's not Fourth Wall. That would be similar idea, but different execution, because it could either be a flaw, like a quirk. I think I know how the world works, or it could be expertise. And whenever it blows up in your face, or whatever you declare, and we acknowledge that whenever you declare, and then it's like doesn't work that way. I can, once a session or scene, I can give you a resolve. Right. Right, because if he thinks he's in a video game, you're not in a video game, you're in an RPG. So if you think you're in a video game, that's different than fourth wall, which specifically states you believe your character, in this case, in a comic book or in an RPG, and you break the fourth wall to interact directly with the audience. So if your character is not talking to me or Ava or Carlos, but in fact talking to their characters or an NPC, I mean, it's the same. I like the idea. I like the idea of somebody who has read, because I haven't. The funny thing is, I've never read Overlord. I've never read Sword Art Online. I know nothing about all the other isekai that are out there, even if I've heard of a few.
There's way too many.
Yeah. Right. So if you're like, I'm going to play off my real world experience and my character is an expert on the genre, buy that you can buy that as an expertise. It's cheap. I may even cheat and be like, here, have an extra point. But you could also have a flaw where you think the world works like everything you've seen, even if it doesn't, because it probably doesn't. Even if we joke about the one guy having the anime harem in the one game. But that I would actually argue that's not fourth wall is written, but I like the idea that you have an extensive knowledge of a genre, and you can get into it. And you could get your character initially into a crap ton of trouble thinking the world is going to work according to conventions that don't apply. I like that idea.
Okay. I was mostly curious if anybody done something like that, but I guess not.
Well, like I said, there's also fourth wall is 6 points. That's a chunk out of 50. And the rules say, like I said, you can only do this once per scene, and you have to break the fourth wall and crack a joke that gets everyone at the table laughing, which would be all of us. I tend to get resolve out if you do something in character that gets us all laughing. So I like the idea of somebody who thinks the world should work the way according to what they've read. I don't know if fourth wall would be the best way to do it.
That was one of the reasons I was asking. I have an idea for what I want to do. Okay. And dear God, I wish my internet service provider would go ahead and fix my internet already. But I had to ask because that does potentially change what I was looking at. So.
Okay.
Was Ava, did you say that you and Isabits were talking about characters already? Like, are y'all going to
be twins?
Are we going to what?
Are you going to know each other going in?
Oh, yeah. They're best friends.
Okay.
Like, they grew up next door to each other, best friends.
So you were sitting in the same row?
Yeah. We're like right next to each other.
Okay. So actually, real quick note now while we're on this. I mentioned resolve and giving resolve out. Just as a reminder, resolve lets you do a ton of things. I will probably try to have a resolve cheat sheet. Resolve, though, lets you, for those as a refresher, re-roll dice, add dice, explode dice if you have the ability. You can revive yourself. You can revive others. You can get out of a special effect if you really want. You can aid each other, 1-to-1 if you're able to see each other, 2-to-1 if you can't. But also you can use it to make narrative declarations. You can get lucky breaks with that. You can say, one of the things that has been happened often is people go, well, do I have this with me early on? And I'm like, spend a resolve. And the answer is yes. So that's what it's useful for. I don't always give out resolve as much as I should. So one thing I ask my players, which is all of you, to tell me, hey, that was really cool. Do you think so-and-so gets a resolve? And I'm often be like, yeah, you get a resolve for that. You can also tell me, hey, I got this flaw. I'm going to use it to get a resolve, but also cause complications for everybody else. That's what flaws are there for. Also, really clever ideas, funny ideas, good role play, things like that. I may give a resolve to one person. I may give a resolve to to the whole table. You can store a resolve. You can have no more than 8, unless by some crazy reason your character would have more than 8 at the start. But you can have no more than 8. And it does hold over from session to session. But That's why it tops at 8. And I try to give resolve back out as much as I get it, as you give it to me. I will also note that I've become much more comfortable with misfortune. Misfortune is when I spend my resolve, known as adversity, and I do this to cause problems for all of you. This is meant to just basically, as I said, cause problems. What can I do to make things a little bit more difficult for your plans and see how you work around them? I can also use it for acts of villainy, which is something important to realize. Acts of villainy can be things like the bad guy gets away. Nobody could survive that. Or the bad guy does something really awful, which I have a great example of that, but it would be a spoiler. But it can include, doing things that are unpleasant and violent to somebody before you can act. I try not to do that, though. I don't try to de-protagonize you guys, but sometimes just to, if you really hate somebody, I can ramp that up with acts of villainy. So I just want you to be aware of that. I also do not track your resolve. You guys should track it on your character sheets. This is an honor system. I'm not going to sit there and stare at your Google Drive or whatever, because whatever. Everybody, we're having fun. There's no need. There's no I have to win plea. That's a mindset we don't need. Also, there's no physical resolve because we're not at a table. We're at a table that have like cool chips or something to give you. So.
So I guess it's all down to everybody figuring out what the concepts are now. Huh?
Hmm?
Now it's down to us getting an idea of what we want to do.
Yeah. This is, if you want to discuss concepts with each other, or ask me right now, or start building, let me actually help you out. Hold on a quick moment. Let me go to my drive. Okay, this is going to be a problem. How do I get this to show up?
What do you need?
I need an alias somehow or another. I need an alias in my drive to the drive Ava made. Oh,
Right click.
no, I got it. Okay. I got it. I think I got it. No, I don't got it. Hold on. My drive. Oh, yeah, here we go. Add shortcut. Hey, I think it worked. Yep, there it is. Okay. So if everybody. I work in SharePoint all day. You think I'd get used to this kind of stuff? Oh, I'm going to rename it, by the way. I'm going to add Twitch so I can separate it because I have three other drives. Huh?
Fair. Very fair.
Yeah, I have 3 other Well of the Worlds drives because of the other online games I have played or am running. So what I'm going to do here is, well, that's useless. Where's my blank character sheets? Hold on. I'm going to drop a character sheet into the directory here. Oh, there it is. Let me open it up real quick, see how it looks. Yep, there we go. All right, so I am going to copy dramatic file copying action. How do we handle it? All right, so if you are looking into Well of the World's Twitch and refresh, you'll see something that says copy of blank character sheet. I'm just going to rename that to blank character sheet. What I'm going to ask you all to do is, if you right click on this, it says make a copy. Please right click and make a copy. And I'm going to make a pair of folders real quick. I'm going to make old character sheets. And I'm going to make one that says new character sheets. I am a self-taught touch typist.
Whatever
All right,
works.
I'm gonna go. I also have a mechanical keyboard, so if it's like, what's that banging noise? That's me. All right, so I'm also going to create a couple other folders while we're at it. Most of these will be blank, but there's one that says art and images. If you find art that you like, this is my character, that's great. Another one is going to be called Blue Books and Side Stories. Create. Another one is going to be called, and additional folders may show up. It's called for the GM only, just in case. Folder. Another one is going to be called Maps, which is exactly what it sounds like. Another one's going to be called NPC Sheets. NPC Sheets, if this is where NPCs that are either created by you, your companions, good friends, or whatever, that are followers or sidekicks, they will go there. NPCs that I have created will not. You don't see those. I'm also going to move over a file that's called Well of the World Setting Rules. Let me see here. I'll make a copy. Please take a look at that. It details a few elements of how things work. If you don't know the game system yet, don't worry about it. It's just some of it is also. I just remembered if you're used to PMP, some of the talents have been renamed to be more thematically appropriate, and that explains what has been renamed. And actually, I'm going to rename new character sheets to be new player character sheets, so that you know what that's for. And old character sheets will be renamed to old player character sheets. As far as I know, everybody should have permission for this. Please drop, and once you copy the blank character sheet, please drop it in the new player character sheets. Once you power up, those will go to old. I'll just duplicate the file and then edit it. By the way, if you create a wish, dream, or desire, and you're like, I kind of would like to be able to do this, let me know, and I'll work with that. Or you can be like, surprise me. And I may come to you and go, well, how do you think this? How do you think this expresses itself? The first time I did this, nobody had any idea the powers they were getting unless they really front-loaded their dream with, in my dreams, I fly. But I found also, to make everybody happy, having a little bit of back and forth works quite well. Let me see. NPC sheets, player character art. I'm not going to create, inside art and images, I'm going to make another folder. Folders and folders. Welcome to my organized mind. That says player character art if you create any. Okay, so blue books may also contain stories you were told. Like I may verbally tell you, like you may find a myth or a story you're told, and I will copy or put a text copy into the folder so you can reference it later. You may also see other files show up. There may be a file that says, here's all the NPCs you've met. Here's all the other things you've bumped into, and you can kind of go back and reference if you really need. All right, so the folder is pretty well set up for play. I'm going to ask, please don't, if you download the PMP Ultimate Edition PDF, I can't stop you. Please don't share it around, though. We don't have a ton of money. So if you're like, I really like this, buy your own copy, please, or buy a book. If you're in the Denver area, I will be at Genghis Khan in 2 weeks, and I will be running a Well of the Worlds game. I ask you if you're showing up, don't play in that because it's a spoiler for this game. But um, feel I've just been dominating this discussion.
I mean, it makes sense. You're laying out the foundation for what we're fucking doing, right? So,
I can't be. Can you?
But informative. If it wasn't, I think there'd be more interruptions.
yeah. All right. So, the ladies know what they're doing, gentlemen. What kind of shenanigans are we cooking up?
I'm thinking.
No idea if my character's gonna know anybody.
Okay, that's fair. Does anybody have concepts?
Well, Limey, you were about to say something.
I was thinking a car mechanic who won the lottery, so he's taking a vacation.
I love it.
Okay, you have a skill on your character sheet that does not exist.
Which one is that?
Crafting.
It's explained in the Well of the Worlds world setting rules document in there. 4 of the 12 of them are renamed. Crafting was
technology.
Yeah, so it's explained.
He saw you coming.
Healing is medicine. Naturalist is science. Transportation is vehicles.
Gotcha. I think
I was going to make.
Go for it.
I was lagged. Go for it.
I was gonna be like like some kind of like TikTok or like a cosplayer, like dancer type dude, going to Bermuda with his fucking anime swords and cosplay get up to do some content on the beach. Yeah.
I was going to be a librarian person because I am not one. I have the.
Carlos, you keep dropping out.
Sorry, that's probably my Discord settings plus my mic.
Yeah, there's something you just dropped way out, and I can't hear anything you're saying.
Yeah, you keep cutting in and out really bad.
Yeah, my input sensitivity was turned up really high. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what are optimum settings. I'm going to ask people not to talk over each other. Realize that's not always easy because you have to pay. If you start talking, the green bar might not show up. I do ask people to kind of like talk into their mic because and if I say please repeat, it's because I didn't hear anything. You're like, why don't you wear headphones? I get a feedback loop with the hearing aids where it's just tweeting and whistling, and it drives me nuts. So I have a pair of speakers here, and I can normally I can hear everybody pretty well. Unfortunately, those with when the internet their internet is off or whatever, I may add, if somebody else is like, this is what they said, okay, we can do that. If you're really having trouble with your internet, just type and I'll respond to the typing. I've had some players who are like, yeah, my headphones or mic is crap and it's noisy where I am, so I'm just going to put myself on mute and type. As long as you're interacting, that's great. I realize on a Twitch, everyone wants to hear us. Twitch, they want to listen to what we're saying to each other, but I would rather you be more comfortable with what's going on and being able to interact than saying, oh, you have to have X or Y or Z. And fortunately, we got everything figured out here. For a while, I was dropping out a lot, and we tinkered a bit with some of my settings and what it was picking up on. And actually switching away from my headphones solved the drop issue. So I don't know what was that with that originally.
Cool.
All right, so we have people who know each other. We have a librarian. Yes.
I was just making sure that you heard that. I'm going to be an academic librarian / archivist person.
That's fine. Panal, I'll tell you that one of my first players was a anime mecha fan. So he played sort of himself. He actually played almost literally played himself. And
that's kind of my motif.
Yeah, he actually used his background. He was ex-Gulf War. He was an IT guy. He used to drive tanks. He was an anime fan, and I will actually say he ended up with blue hair, sword skills, and could leap to the horizon.
Fantastic. And then you're a car mechanic, right?
Yes.
Car mechanic, I love it. A car mechanic who won the lottery.
Who won the lottery? I don't know if I should take wealth or not.
You do not pay for it.
Okay.
I mean, a little bit of a spoiler. Things like wealth and contacts on Earth will not apply. But you can write wealth, I won the lottery, and don't pay for it.
Makes him
Also,
feel better.
I will also note, unlike champions, the wealth level for, I think the starting wealth level for Prowlers and Paragons is you won the mega lottery, I would say. But, you can say I won the lottery, you can say wealth, you can use it as an explanation for having really nice stuff and why you're going to Bermuda. In case people are wondering, by the way, like, well, what's going on in Bermuda in February? I don't care. You could say, well, I'm going to a festival. I'm going for vacation. I'm going to pick up a prisoner. That was our cop who was in Interpol. I'm going to go from there to fly to somewhere else. I mean, it is the real world. Biden is president. COVID is ending. There's a war in Ukraine. It's that world. It's basically the world outside our window, like Marvel used to say. So, you can play with that. Technically, we start in March. We can say the flight left in February, flight leaves in March. Doesn't really matter. Much like, I don't know if anybody's ever read The Land That Time Forgot by Edgar Rice Burroughs, but he makes a comment that the book that you read is actually a narrative that some guy has written down, and he gives his name, and he goes, my name is John, but in 2 pages, you'll forget me. And Stephen King points out that's very true. You forget that you're reading a narrative by some guy, like you're reading somebody's book that you found. And while Burroughs has his fault as a writer, he does a really good job of plunging you into a story. And this is sort of the same thing. Once the game starts, a lot of the stuff that was affecting you back on Earth may no longer apply. It may hang over your head, but it's not going to be a constant presence. So things like contacts and wealth and where you're going and why, they're nice background, they're nice color, but it'll get superseded by other issues pretty quickly.
I may actually know our librarian buddy now that it's pointed out. I was looking at playing an archaeologist who was on his way to a dig site because he's trying to research whether or not magic existed in the past.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So he's on his way to it, either heading back from a site or heading to one, something. I haven't figured it out yet.
Have you ever heard of the Bimini Wall?
I have not, no.
I believe it's in the Bermuda area. And if you want to look at, if you want to look into Chariots of the Gods, Van Daniken, Aliens did it. That's a famous sunken structure that I think is natural, but gets pulled up often as as evidence of Atlantis. I believe it's in the area. Let me make sure. There's one off Japan too.
All right. So how old is everybody?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. It's. I'll give you a Wikipedia link.
I guess it's a mechanic, probably mid-20s.
Okay. I was thinking like early 20s, late teens, like either still like a senior in high school or just about to go be a freshman in college, prime TikTok age, right?
Jesus.
It'd be great because
you guys can save all this to the for session 1 when you introduce and describe yourself to each other, but
Got it.
Settle things now. So wait a minute, Ava and Isabits, are you do you have anything other than we know each other, or are you going to save all that for later?
I mean, we have it. We figured out the whole dynamic and everything.
Okay.
In broad strokes, at least.
All right. Actually, since somebody is looking at the character sheet, well, somebody was looking at the character sheet. It says name at the top. You can, you put your name there. Powers, don't worry about that. One thing I will note, if you look at the character sheet, which is in, oh, of course I can't tell you. Look, let me open up the correct character sheet. By the way, Ava, I ran my hell of a boss game, and somebody who was like a huge hell of a boss fan was like, you should tell Vivian, the creator, about this. I was like, okay. Oh my God, you guys already. I'm like, there's a copy already in there. Okay, so if you take a look at it, name is name, origin Earth, abilities, it's all one color, talents is all one color, powers. If you notice at the end where it says name, rank, source, notes, just to be clear for those who've maybe never seen that, name is the power as it's named in the book. Rank will be dice. Source may be super, tech, whatever. Notes, I will usually try to tell you what this power is. You have control over flame. You can run it 100 miles an hour. You can stop and start time. I will usually include a page number so that you can double check any trivia about the power in the rule book. I don't know why his flaws indented. Okay. Perks, flaws, gear. Under gear, please put anything that you think is in your carry-on luggage. You're like, what about my checked luggage? That's what resolve is for. Motivation. You can use a motivation from the book, or you can just write out a motivation. Description. Describe yourself. Dream, desire, wish. Be as elaborate as you want. I probably will go in and do a little formatting when you're done. Origin, you don't have to be super elaborate. Some people they've included images and pictures. At least a few lines, like, where you're from, why are you on the flight, what were you doing, what do you like, okay. For some reason, I thought I misspelled it. You can, in case you don't know, you can insert images and things into this if you really, really want. You'll be good to go. Once again, you may say, hey, there's some of these talents are slightly different. That's true. The Word file that says of setting rules will tell you what the different. I thought I slept well last night.
Don't start that.
I sleep often very poorly. I am 55. Everything is catching up with me.
So for ages, Aishlin and Freya are mid-20s, I think we decided, right?
Yeah.
So 25, 26 in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so I'm the baby? All right.
You're the baby.
Oh, this is going to be great.
I'm planning on making Roland 29.
Planning on being at least in 30s, so we'll see.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic.
Does Roland have a horn?
No, he does not, sadly.
I just, because I thought of it, I've mentioned it, and if you all will indulge me for a moment. All right. That is a drawing I did. About in the mid 90s. It's based off of a photograph. I am the gentleman down here in the lower right corner. So the guy with the eagle wings, that's me when I was a lot thinner and younger. The reason why I was thinking about this is my 6 degrees of separation for Gary Gygax are represented by the gentleman in the back with the great helm and the axe and the hourglass on his helmet. That is the late Will McLean. And you're like, I don't know who that is. Well, if anybody has an AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide, the original, and you look under the list of artists, he drew the cartoons, which was like the fighter and plate jumping into the wizard's arms because the rust monster, Dave, get the barbarian in the corner and another drink quick, or the guys with the Mickey Mouse ears attacking the rat temple. This had better work. That's him. and he was wicked strong, and dragged me over the barrier by my axe. And the gentleman in the front here with the Superman legs poking out of his helmet, holding a great sword, had the duty of telling Avalon Hill Games that no, Battlefield Earth would not make a good war game.
Awesome.
So talking about anime fans with swords, I used to. The biggest fight I was ever in was 2,000 people.
God damn, that's a lot of people.
And I can strip back my sleeve and show my scars that I did earn upon St. Crispin's Day. and then I was gifted with a much nicer arming jacket. So I stopped getting bites from my from the articulated metal armor on my elbows.
Never did much fighting in armor, but I have slain many children on the battlefield filled with foam. A lot of kids with Nerf swords, dude. I swear.
I did Society of Creative Anachronism for 20 years, off and on, and I did armored fighting. I did a little bit of archery with a crossbow. I minted coins, and for a while I ran a gaming table, which meant that I brought all sorts of games to events that people could, I want draughts, I want Morris, I want checkers, I want backgammon. I teach card games, and we minted coins. So one thing I will note is if I ever say something, because I have trained myself to try to use more, in my mind, accurate terminology, and you're like, I don't understand what you just said, I'll be like, oh, well, this is this. This is, this is what they're wearing, or this is what I meant when I said that. I try not to use fantasy trope armor and weapons names, basically.
And you said, powers like martial arts and evasion, stuff like that. We can take.
Right. Things that any person would expect to be trained in. Now, one thing to consider, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm really good with a katana, you don't want to worry about martial arts so much, it might be cheaper to buy expertise sword or expertise katana. Excuse me. It's a little bit cheaper, and it builds off. You can say it builds off my might or builds off my agility. Also, that was an important lesson that Len taught me. I'm like, well, how do you make a really good archer without having an agility that's up out the roof? He goes, okay, so you do expertise, archery, and you base it off your agility. And I was like, oh, that's so brilliant. Now, if you want to be an all-around fighter, that's martial arts. If you want to be like, I'm really good with a katana or the handgun because I'm a cop or something, then I would look at expertise. Don't buy strike and don't buy blast, because those are actually pure powers, and it's works better at the point total we're at to use expertise and add it to your stat, and it also is a little bit more accurate. I will note, though, that as we go along, if it's like, well, why don't we just cram this together or take this and buy something like, say, our 17-year-old cosplayer is like, I'm really good with my katana because I've been taking kendo for like 4 years. And then later on, he's like, well, I want to be like some super swordman martial artist. I'm like, yeah, we'll take your expertise and we'll take those points to buy this power, and we'll boost you up that way.
Okay. It's like, yeah, this whole thing, it's like, well, everybody else is,
Oh my God.
Doing that. I was studying the blade, just watching anime. And then like a bit like his dreams is that, he can cut anything like Zorro, right? He has that breath eventually cuts realities or some shit. Like some anime bullshit. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God, that's the greatest explanation for Stargate ever. Reality and well, not much of a spoiler. There's an NPC that your character is either going to love as sensei or hate.
My eternal rival. Yeah, I got you.
Hooray! It's back.
Hey. Um,
All right, so expertise, and then use sword, and then base that off of might or agility, whichever one I choose.
I would say might. Yeah, agility's for ranged, might is for melee. So what and what you would do, what I would say would be expertise, might, colon, or expertise, parentheses, might, colon, sword play, and then your dice value. Now realize that a sword would add to that. So let me explain real quick so you can wrap your head around this, because this plies into Limey Dragon's gear question. Let's say Panal has a 3 might, and he goes, okay, I want to have some sword play ability. Well, a sword already gives him like 2 dice. He has 5 dice in attack and defense with a sword. And he goes, well, I want some expertise. Well, you're at 6 die cap. So what you're going to want to do, so what you really have to look at too is like, your gear, I'll let your gear push you up a little bit because it's helpful, but you can't go too high. So what I would say is you can't have any more than 8 dice. So, and expertise is 1 point for 2 dice. So we realize that if you go, if I put a point in expertise and I have a 3 might, you have 5 dice, and then a sword makes you 7 dice. That's probably good enough right there.
Cheap and easy. Oh, dude, expertise is the way. All right.
That makes any sense to me. Now I understand. I'm like, this is how it works.
Expertise is the way. All right.
Expertise with the Oh my god. So I did have one thing I will try not to do, especially during game, is like, is say like, oh my god, in a previous game this happened, because that's really bad. I will note though that I have had an archaeologist before, and they had a ball. They were very fascinated. So an archaeologist character is kind of cool because if you play up the whole science, oh my god, if I don't know. If your archaeologist is into, and I'm not trying to be insulting, but I consider crackpot theories. Oh, this could be a gold mine for me. Your character is just going to lose they're going to go bananas.
Oh,
I love it.
He's totally chasing the idea that magic was real and is not anymore because technology has come to the fore. That's like the entirety of the thesis he took. He took in college.
Have you ever read Roger Zelazny?
I have not. Now I want to, though.
What you want to do is look for. I really want this to come out in a nice edition. There is a series he did called "The Magic Goes Away, the Magic May Return," and more magic. And he postulated a world full of mana that got used up. Anybody ever play Magic the Gathering? The disc that spin that's
Larry Niven's disc.
Right, it's Larry Niven's disc. That's where these come from. And as sorcerers created castles overnight and floating islands and everything, they sucked up all the mana in the world. And as the mana went away and everything magical died off, technology took root. And then, and actually, he has a bunch of stories set in the fall of the world: the Burning Tower, Burning City, Burning Road. He's actually got a bunch of stories now. Some of them are way better than others. And he asked, no, that was Larry Niven. Sorry, Roger Zelazny, I think, wrote a short story. Man, why did I think Zelazny?
Yeah.
Larry Niven, Magic Goes Away. But he did a short story collection, Magic May Return. And one of them, I think Zelazny contributed a story to, dealing with the idea that magic is slowly coming back because it's emitted, or it comes from space. It's like and so it falls kind of like snow, and when it accumulates again, people will be able to cast serious spells. So yeah, a guy running around. Oh boy, I would love to see his reaction to in-game events.
I am looking forward to it. I had the idea that I wanted to play a spellcaster, and then the moment you were like, it's based on your desire, I'm like, I know how I can work this. He wants to prove magic existed at some point. Now he's in the world where magic is real. This can further my research so much.
One quick note, by the way, you're not the only people on the plane. Just to let you know, there's not 6 of you on this plane.
I mean, it's a commercial liner, right? So there's probably more like 100, 150 maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really. There's no exact number, but I just noting. Yeah, there's all sorts of other people on the plane.
Oh my gosh! I just realized.
So this isn't a Langoliers moment where it's just like the cast is the only one that makes it to the other side.
And by the way, that's also one reason is that if for some reason somebody drops and somebody else comes in, they're from the same flight. We just go with that.
It's more
And you're
wild.
like, if a lot of time has passed, I'm like, yep, sure, I'm good with that. So as I said, by the way, if you guys are like, this is really awesome, in April this will go to Kickstarter. It'll be for P&P. The initial Kickstarter will be for the core book, which is basically a lot of background material so you can run games, and talks about how the world works, talks about powers, talks about special things, gives descriptions, some NPCs. There is an NPC book. I'm not gonna. That'll be like 60 or 70 characters of different power levels and capabilities. I have an idea for another NPC book, which is basically just one of these like alphabetical and then little descriptive blocks, because not everybody needs a stat block, but it gives you background information about everybody. I have the same idea for places. The reason is that there's all these places I've mentioned offhand or crop up in Origins, and I'd like, well, maybe I should detail them a little bit. There's a mythology book that I want to do, which I've actually been working on. And then maybe, I don't know, some other such, and the adventure that we're on, which is called Against the Masters of the World, would be put out as like a 256 or I don't know how long, super detailed, start to finish campaign. And I was plugging it away at that for a while, and it's been set aside to concentrate on the core book. And I wasn't joking. I ran a total, and I've written about 160,000, maybe 175,000 words of material. I think my record is what was it? Kaze 5 is 275,000 words of material, which we may bring to P&P as well. It'll use the Action Hero system, which is a more granular, not quite as open-ended dice cap system. Still using D6s. It's just the difference between 1 and 2 and 3 is a little bit narrower than it is in P&P.
Oh, my character sheet done and uploaded.
I got most of mine done. I'm poking at what she has in her carry-on. I'm trying to figure out what a worrywart who tries to prepare for everything would have.
Right.
And one is actually something that I have personally, and it's a book titled How to Stay Alive in the Woods. She takes it everywhere. Whenever she's traveling.
I was so tempted because Costco has a How to Survive Everything book, and I was like, will I actually use it?
That's the type of thing I buy because writing research. Yeah, I know, right? I'm never going to use it.
Okay, so I see that there is a two-fist power, right?
I was looking at that too.
Is there a three-fist power?
Oh my god.
All right. So let me explain real quick. Two-fisted is the power. Have you seen The Winter Soldier?
Absolutely.
All right. Two-fisted is the power that Captain America uses to wipe out 6 Hydra agents in basically 5 seconds.
Yeah, you use both hands.
No, actually, two-fisted can mean a couple of different things. First of all, it means I'm fighting. Basically, it just means that you're wailing into a mob of mooks and unloading on them. But one thing everybody, at least I have learned from at least my Champions days, is while the name of the power is often wonderful, also what does the power do? And how does that apply to what you want to do? So two-fisted also means that you just mow down guys in a fight. And this is nameless minions. This goes into a little bit of rules, by the way. You guys are named characters. You have stat blocks, you have full everything. You have talents, you have abilities, you have powers, you have flaws. The next step below that are stat blocks that don't have talents. Those are, I would say, they were upper end NPCs. They can have a name, they don't have a name. Step below that are super mooks. They're just a couple of dice sets. And then below that are mooks, or minions, which are a dice pool. Minions are nameless. Minions go down. As long as you get a success, you take one down. And so two-fisted lets you knock out masses of minions, be they ninja, stormtroopers, I don't know. I'm trying to think. All those guys John Wick shoots in a John Wick movie, or all the guys Bruce Lee beats up in Enter the Dragon, are, that kind of a thing. And minions can be stupid powerful. Luke Skywalker versus all the battle droids at the end of The Mandalorian, those were basically really powerful minions, but because Luke is 16 dice of Jedi's lightsaber, the fact that these were 12 die minions, he still was mowing them down pretty good. Anybody who saw Age of Ultron, that's how you represent hundreds and hundreds of Ultron robots without writing each one up, because you don't have to do that, unlike Champions or D&D. So Captain America throws his shield, and he's like, well, you just wiped out 3 Ultron robots. Great. And he has two-fisted as well, because Captain America just crushes Hydra agents, crushes Ultron robots, maybe not as fast, but that's what he does. If your anime fan has not really been in a real fight, two-fisted can come later. Now, two-fisted can also be marksmanship, which is I'm really good with a bow or guns, or fighting, which is I'm really good with swords or fists. John Wick, if you watch any John Wick movies, has both. Bruce Lee would just have fighting, while Hawkeye just has shooting, because he basically uses a bow and wipes people out. Black Widow has both, because she can shoot and fight and just crush nameless guys. That makes sense?
It does.
Now, two-fisted is something that you can be trained in. I will note that you have to trigger it with a resolve. So if your character is going to have 0 resolve, unless he has some flaws and he can get it some. So it's not something he can do a whole lot initially. Also, if he's 17 and he isn't running around punching people, think about whether or not you think that fits. Also, it's like 2 points. So, just saying.
Got it. All right. Yeah. No, I was just asking because he wanted to be like Zorro and have 3 swords.
Oh, God.
Yeah, put one in his
one sword in his mouth.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to look at the contents of my girl's quote-unquote mom bag. That's what I lovingly call it.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
It's a mom bag.
That you can only have less than 3 ounces of that soap in that travel set.
Butter soap, and it's travel size of shampoo and conditioner, and yes, it is meticulously measured.
Fair enough. Awesome.
So embarrassing.
Ava, I have a suggestion. If you are really serious about having a what they call a bug out bag with a load of everything in it, I know you have a battery pack. Have you considered a solar panel for recharging the battery pack? Have you ever seen those? The little.
I have.
Yeah.
They're little foldable things. They're about the size of depending on which one you get, most of them are about the size of a cell phone when you fold them in half. And then you open it up, it's got a little kickstand, and you just set it up so it's pointed towards the sun, and it has a USB cable sticking out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely adding it.
So just so you know, whenever you pull that out, Freya turns around like she doesn't know you.
She doesn't pull it out very often, only when she's packing.
Okay.
Or, her bag probably always gets pinged by the
PSA.
TSA, yeah. Always. Every single time.
You know, it's the worst part is I get the feeling that Roland has a very similar bag.
Oh, I don't. Mine is just filled with like phones and swords. I'm gonna wear a mask. Like when shit hits the fan, he's gonna put on a mask like it's like he's gonna get confidence from a mask or something. I'm gonna pull one out.
Oh my god.
I'm surprised she doesn't have like actual like replacement batteries for the flashlight that's connected with her multi-tool.
Are you kidding? Phones nowadays, you can't replace the goddamn batteries.
I was talking about the one for the multi-tool.
No, multi-tools don't have, with flashlight, I was going to say, multi-tools don't have batteries.
I mean,
Oh my God,
what would it
no.
be to just toss in a few batteries because they're tiny as fuck?
Look, shit. I got
It's not
this
a multi-tool, it's just a flashlight.
like 30 years ago. Yeah, all you young punks, get out of my lawn.
My
Right,
flaw is that I'm woefully unprepared because I just thought I would just buy my shit at when we landed.
I'm prepared for everything. And then she's got absent-minded. So why she prepares for everything. So she knows she's got what she needs.
Yeah, and in fact, that's the entire bag at the airport.
That's what she's got
she has
Freya
me.
for.
Yeah, that's what she has me. Except that when she leaves it there, I go to pick it up and trip over it and like bust my head open.
Clumsy.
Because she's clumsy.
These two are gonna be so much fun. One of them's got a fear of spiders, the other's afraid of snakes.
And here I was thinking about taking Jinx.
Oh, please. I have somebody with unluck, and it is hysterically funny for me.
Yeah, but I was looking at Jinx, which is the one where he's fine. It's everyone else around him.
No, I know. Now, please be aware, if you're like, what is Jinx, what is unluck? Misfortune means I get to do that, but I have to spend a resource to do it. Jinx and unluck means at least once per scene I get to do it for free.
Oh, I'm aware.
Don't do that. No, just...
All right. Ava, I'm not trying to drive you mad, but having worked on these or done these a little bit, I'm well, one thing you may have noticed already, if you look at your speciality, I put the note already added in. So if your character sheet is done, actually, now please actually, I will ask, don't look at each other's character sheets. Nope, you're okay. So I'm gonna make a few corrections. First of all, this is, and you don't know what I'm correcting, but I'm explaining to everybody else. Let me see. Your health is actually 3 because it's willpower and toughness, or willpower and might.
I forgot. Yeah.
Right. Your resolve is 2. No, you're 2 down. I think resolve is 4. And your edge is, and yep, your edge is correct. Now, did you add your specialties in to your charm and professional? Anyway.
No, I did not.
All right. So so here's the other thing I'm going to do. Please put just to remind all of us, and also so it makes it a little bit easier, but I'm going to put a D after everything, because that way, it's a dipole. Also gets you used to seeing it when it starts to crop up elsewhere. So the other thing I'm going to do is next to your characteristic, I'm going to put something in parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that, okay, for starters, talents do not affect resolve. So having 5 dice does not affect anything. The other thing is that, the specialty lets you exceed the dice cap. So you have this is what I paid for. This is what the speciality is giving me. but you always use what's in the parentheses. Let me see. Let me double check your edge. Characters, finishing touches. Just for those of you, I just want to let everybody know. I'm going to be. This is a little bit about when you're GMing this. You may have seen the one character sheet I showed you had no points on it. NPCs, I probably have to rebuild all of my hero NPCs as actual heroes, but NPCs, I don't put point. You don't buy points on them, so you guys will deal with bad guys that don't have any point totals or nothing. They also they don't have to pay attention to the formula. You may come to me and go, but his edge should be 12, even though you've got a 15. I'm like, yeah, I know, but as Len says, give them the numbers you want. I don't normally do that. Maybe I punch up their health just a little bit, but I don't have to pay attention to the exact value of. You have 4 resolve because your highest stat is 4. So this is also something. This is why I like this game better in Champions. When Champions, because I considered publication, everything was written out, everything was point totaled, everything was statted, and with this one, sure, I can publish what I did, but I don't have to worry about point totals. I'm just like this, and this works, and I want this to look like this, and this, and this, and I'm like, this, great, it's perfect, it's done. The other thing that I want, and I may say, I'm using this, or I'm exploding this 6, or this. The other thing I want everybody to be aware of, because I'm trying to teach how PMP works, is I don't want to. The problem is that I'm used to some terminology I really don't want to use. But NPCs, especially villains, are locked into their quirks, or their flaws. So, for example, with Aceling over here, Aceling is absent-minded. Now, what that means in the long run is, if Ava's like, I'm not a resolve, she can say, yeah, I forgot that thing, or I need to, I forgot something, or I don't have it, and so on and so on. Ashlyn, okay.
Ashlyn. It's Irish.
Ashlyn, okay. Yeah, it took me a long time to remember that Cybohan is actually Siobhan.
Siobhan. The H is a V.
So if Ava comes to me and says, Ashlyn has forgotten something, I'm like, here's your resolve. And you can't hammer this over and over again. It's once per scene. Now, granted, the aversion, I may be like, either you play it up, I'm not going in there, there's snakes, or I can be like, looks like a snake. Some flaws give you resolve at the start of this game. Other ones, it's when you choose to pick them up. Now, with chinks, I can inflict a misfortune on somebody. So at that point, I may be like, oh, you forgot that, because it's an easy misfortune to inflict on this character because I see what their flaws are. Also realize that misfortunes can be things like the roof collapsed, your weapon gets stuck, you ran out of bullets, something fell on you, that kind of a thing. So I don't like the abusive GM trope, but I have gotten much more comfortable with what I consider ratcheting up the tension. And misfortunes are a great way to do that, which is my version of yes, but. I don't know if you've ever heard yes and, yes, but, no and, no but. But it's like an improv. Wait,
Sorry. My intrusive thoughts won. Sorry.
Okay. I will note also, for those who've not played this a whole lot, is that it can be very narrative. Combats, I tend to play very binary. You got one more success, did a point of damage, whatever. But at other points, when you're making skill checks, or you're doing some, skill versus skill, and it's not specifically combat, especially if you're the one on stage, I may say like, well, you got 3 more successes. The scene is yours. You may say, you only got 2 successes. I can actually throw in the complication. I cannot take away your agency. I can say, I leapt across, I leapt the alley. So I went from one roof to another. I said, sure, but I can throw in a complication. The roof is collapsing under your feet. I can't deny you crossing the alley, but I can make things tougher for you once you've done that. So please be aware. I am trying to remember to do that, to play things up, to make things a little tougher. Also, it's why you have superpowers. It lets you get out of some of this stuff in crazy cool ways.
Okay. I am sorry then. I do need to leave here. Is there anything that important that I need to know? Like right now, can I finish this up and then just put it in the folder later?
Yeah. My question is when do we want to play again? The first time, the soonest I can play, when we actually play, and we can go online, is March 10th.
The soonest is March 10th. March 10th works for me.
Yeah.
It can't be the 24th because I'm at Genghis Khan, and the 17th and the 3rd, I am running my alternate game, which is using this storyline. The game will be, because I've run this before, I actually can usually get a good idea of what the title of the episode will be. I'll try to get that with our tech person and everything ready. We'll be running every 2 weeks. I figure to run for about 4 hours. We will have an intro where I'm like, hey, welcome to the game. Welcome to this. This is some news. This is whatever news or anything that we want to inform people about. And then I'll do a recap. Last session, this happened. When the recap ends, I'll probably be like, if it needed, the floor is yours, or something to that effect. And we'll start play. First session is called Welcome to the Well. It's not really all that special because that's pretty much sums up episode 1.
Sounds
Oh yeah,
good.
can't forget a pair of headphones. Sorry.
Oh yeah. All right. Well,
For the mom bag.
I'll talk later.
Okay.
Bye, Chris.
Wow, you guys are quick.
I'm excited for this.
5 characters already. All right, I'm not going to read
Michelin
any.
and Freya are going to be so much fun. I can't wait. I'm also playing a very different character than I normally do. I don't normally do the idealist mom friend.
You really don't.
I mean, Jane Wick, was
neither of those.
So, Ava, did you see the edits I did to your character sheet?
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, let me get that. You need to be. I presume, because I am in Colorado.
That's
And
6 p.m. Mountain.
Yeah, I get off work
Wait.
at 4:30.
Yeah.
Did we? Oh, I know how that happened.
8 p.m.
Yeah,
Eastern.
because I'm 3, so yeah.
Yeah.
I love you, Ava, but I don't know that I trust your time zone math.
It is correct.
I've been playing in online communities for years. My time zone math is on point.
I'm just kidding. Although, except for
Shut the fuck up,
Saturday.
I'm just the one to forget to put it in my calendar, and if it's not written down, it doesn't exist.
Aha.
ADHD and object permanence.
Yeah, I had a character more or less made, but after hearing about expertise and all that other stuff, I'm going to go back and look at it a little bit more. So I'll have something within the next couple of days.
All right. Well, actually, what I'm going to now, I realize everybody can look at each other's character sheets, but please don't. Part of the fun, of course, is not knowing what anybody else can do. Oh, well, that's easy. You're blank. I'll do a little work on this later. I would probably ping some of you and be like, okay, so how does this express his superpowers? Like what kind of, what powers would you get out of this? Something.
Well, nice meeting you, man. I'm gonna take off. I got some stuff I have to take care of.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Feel like Aishlin needs a portable storehouse. That's what the mom bag becomes.
Good. That is very good.
That's
Very
perfect.
good.
But I'm basically, it's going to be up to you. Yeah.